Let's start with a general health warning. We'll be talking about sensitive topics, and as we don't know your personal mental health background, we need you to know that we are going to be as open and honest as we can about our mental health experiences, and we don't quite know where the conversation is going to take us. So that means that we need you to be aware of your own personal vulnerability and of your feelings. If at any point you start to feel anxious or distressed by what you hear, then please do log out or take a break for as long as you need. You may rejoin at any time should you feel ready.
We will start from a bit of, I am a bit crazy about definitions, and perhaps because English is my second language, and I always love to understand exactly what the particular word mean. So a bit of the extract from Oxford Language Dictionary, talking about healing is the process of making or becoming sound or healthy again. Does that mean that art is a cure? What is the difference between curing and healing? And I came across an article when I was doing research for my latest book, and there was this quote: "You can cure without healing. You can heal without curing." And this just intrigued me so much. Um, and I perceive it as a good introduction to our topic, really, because when we look at the more detailed definitions by Lisa Rankin, um, she says that curing means eliminating all evidence of disease, while healing means becoming whole. And this really blew my mind when I read it. What are your thoughts on those quotes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really, really interesting to me because initially when I heard it, I think I viewed both on the same level, perhaps that curing and healing would mean almost the same thing. But I think I'm definitely in a process of healing. I don't know that I will ever be cured per se.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think as
Yeah,
long,
I had a lot of people asking, when they, um, when you tell people that you use art and whatsoever, they assume that so you're okay now, right? You are dealing with it. However, like you said, I don't know if I will ever get cured. On the contrary, I have, frequent relapses.
mm-hmm.
Um, but art makes me feel whole. And I think that we frequently, when we chat together, we come to that that conclusion that it makes us feel whole, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I think without the art, without the art therapy that we do, we wouldn't necessarily get there. Because it is, at least for me, something that definitely keeps me in check and helps me when I have relapses. And they still happen. They still absolutely happen. But it definitely helps to, have the art that I can turn to.
Yeah, it's important to mention that we are not qualified art therapists, and when we refer to art therapy, we are talking about self art therapy. When we are therapists to ourselves using art, we'll discover today a lot about this profession. But let's go more into it. So there was another quote that I came across from Henry Ford Health System staff. So art is healing because it forces you to forge a connection between your mind and your body. Unlike exercise, which works on your body, or meditation, which clears your mind, art making accesses both mind and body to promote healing. And that is, again, it's like reading those books about art and how it heals and how it helps is really like rediscovering this and having a kind of validation of this, what I feel and what I think. And it's amazing, you know. I love finding some confirmation that there is some logic and reasons behind my actions, you know. It is so, you know, giving the purpose and value to whatever we do. And I know that I mentioned it several times, but I suck at meditation. I'm crap at it. I can't switch off my brain and the constant chatter. And when people are telling me concentrate on the breathing, then I either hold my breath or hyperventilate, and I can't find the middle ground there. However, when I'm making art, it's, you know, finally I have very steady and slow pace breathing. I am breathing much deeper, everything zooms out. And because I don't know how that meditative state looks like, because I can't achieve that, hey ho, but I assume that it's very similar to the meditative state people receive during those meditative exercises. Do you find yourself that it is similar? Because I know that you do meditate and you can do it, so you can compare
Yeah.
those two.
Yeah, I do both. Meditation for me is something that I have to do every single day because I need to calm my mind, and I do find that it helps. I have ADD, and that it was something that was really difficult, the meditation when I first started, because my mind was here and there and here and there and, you know, all over the place, as it is all day long. But I have found certain methods during meditation to kind of, you know, allow those thoughts to come in, and, you know, you just watch them like little clouds disappear, and just allow them. And I think once you start allowing them and not focusing so much on the fact that they're coming, then it's you just need that self-acceptance. Definitely though, the process is very, very similar, but at the same time, it's very different. Because when I'm meditating, I'm 100% still, and what's happening is I'm 100% aware of my body and everything that I'm feeling in my body. However, when I'm creating art and I come into flow, or that meditative state, you know, that's more with the movement and, you know, getting things out of the body, released from the body. So it's more of a physical thing. And what I find is that when I'm creating art and I get into that state, there's no room for my head to keep rattling. You know, those thoughts kind of quiet down automatically and disappear. So it is different from meditating, but I do find both so completely useful and helpful. And I just really quick wanted to comment on some of the comments that are coming in through the chat. And I'm so glad that this is resonating with so many of you, because I mean, it is a new way of thinking for me as well, you know, between the healing and the curing. And it's kind of eye-opening when you think of it that way.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's like that you can heal without being cured, right? That's, you know, revelation and a kind of validation that, you know, because this what always worries me is like, I think that it's like with addiction, you remain addicted to something for whole life. You may be sober for several years or decades or whatever, but you are an addict, you know. So the same with depression. I find, because, you know, I observe it since I was teenager until now. I'm 41 on Monday. You know, it's like it's constantly there. There are moments when I feel whole and feel better, but there are also moments when I'm, you know, sliding down. So this is about, yes, healing. There are moments when I feel healed but not cured. So that's revelation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Another interesting quote. Research has also shown that creating visual art can reduce stress and promote relaxation, including people who are hospitalized or homebound due to illness. Well, that is self, you know, sufficient, really, because we already proven a lot with our creative release sessions for mental wellness. After which we received such a fabulous feedback, how relaxing it was, and how the stress gets reduced when doing that. And it's particularly important for those who are in hospitals or stuck in their homes, because there is so limited a range of things that they could do to relax, and the pain and the medication that may have side effects, this can drive people insane. So mental health is affected by long-term illnesses, long-term pain, and whatsoever. So those kind of activities, so simple to do, right? Piece of paper and a pen and a bit of doodle can change somebody's day for better. So
Mm.
that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing to highlight is that to benefit from art therapy or any art whatsoever, you do not need to be an artist. And that's one thing that Dorota and I do touch on in all of the sessions that we do on Zoom. We try to teach very, very simple methods to be able to alleviate some of that stress and anxiety. Just by using things that everybody has at home, like a pen and paper, scissors, and paper, crayons, or the things that you have just offhand. You don't need any professional art materials.
Exactly.
The other thing that I wanted to say, based on the last slide, is I actually had. I think it was last week, I had an episode where I was basically having an anxiety attack, and I was having a really hard time breathing. So I decided to push myself a little bit, and I went into my studio, not really knowing what I was going to do, but just to do something basic. And because on social media or in general, I try to show people that, mental health and dealing with mental health is something that's completely normal. I work to smash the stigma. I'm very open. So I actually turned on a live while I was having that anxiety attack and trying to create some level of art. Actually, I think a few people that are in the chat or in the group here had signed on to that live. And when I first started, I almost couldn't breathe. I was almost hyperventilating and just doing the art, had the camera, showing what I was doing. And in the end, I sat there for an hour and a half, just creating. And a lot of people just stayed on the entire time. And we were having a bit of a conversation when I started to calm down. And I noticed by the end of my art session, it's almost like I didn't feel any anxiety at all. I was completely back to, a normal level of functioning. And it was quite nice to actually show that happening to people so that they do realize the power of it. And what I was doing was very simple. I was not creating with the intention of keeping what I was doing. There was no judgment. There was no, oh, I'm going to sell this. It was just getting those emotions onto paper. And then I think it can even be therapeutic to just crumple it up afterwards and throw it away.
Oh yeah, I do it all the time. Sometimes, I may scribble with anger to the point that the paper is perforated completely, and it helps me a lot. And sometimes, just damaging that outcome is a kind of catharsis, isn't it? And this, what you said, really touches the next slide, which is with the right support, every person can tap into and release unique creative expressions. And we keep forgetting because we think that art is for artists or those who finish schools and whatsoever. And you have an example in front of you. I haven't finished any art school. I'm completely self-taught, and to the extent that I rebelled against my gift, because as a child I was perceived as gifted. At the moment when I was told I can't go to art school, I said, well, I can't be educated, so I can't be good at it, meaning I am not doing it. So for over 2 decades, even more probably, I did not do proper art. I would only did some crafts with my children. And then, after this massive breakdown, something opened up in me, and I started to pour art like crazy. And now I overcome the stress and anxiety of calling myself an artist. But you don't need to be an artist. You don't need to call yourself an artist to release certain aspects of your day stress or anxiety onto the paper. And like Jennifer said, you don't need to show it to anyone. You can even damage it, you know. The other one, art can purify the sensual world, catharsis, and correct its orientation. And I found myself so often mesmerized by this outcome, how cleansing it can be to take something that worries me out on the paper. I even refer to it as trapping demons on the paper, because I do nice and happy art too, at least I hope. But very often I focus on those negative states of mind, because I found that unless I take it out, I can't really identify and process it correctly. And when I give it a form, it is more, I can grasp it more. I can grasp the concept, what it really is and what to do next. And like I said, the demon is out of my head. I evict it and put it on the paper. And this gives me a kind of sense of safety, because you know what, even if this piece of paper with that demon poses any threat, any stress whatsoever, you know what, I can put it in the bin. I can put it in my fireplace. I can kill it. You know, I have power to kill it. And of course, it's not a magic that, you know, those worries disappear completely from my mind. But at least, you know, I can project that they are, you know, I can kill them, like like in a role play, and a little bit of it dies each time, you know. So I believe in catharsis. Do you experience catharsis, Jennifer?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that I actually have anything more to add to that, that I haven't that I haven't said. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, it definitely. Yeah.
This kind of pureness. The same, like, you know, because I deal with anger. I am a very angry person. You know, it's like there is many reasons behind it, but I easily snap. And I found myself that when I take it out in an artistic way, and it doesn't need to be, like you said, doesn't need to be something that I want to sell. I can keep it myself. I keep journal, art journal to myself, in which I do all possible things. But I find that, you know, I feel almost cleaner after doing that. It's like taking a shower and washing it off, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my orientation changes, because I find that I directed my anger, my frustration onto the paper, and then I can take another approach, even to the stressor that posed that anger, which is safer in terms of society being around me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. I know one thing that I tend to do on a normal basis when I'm not feeling well, or I feel that there's things that I have to just brain dump, you know, get out of my head, is I start pretty much every project by journaling. And it can be anything from just writing a couple words about whatever I'm pissed off about or upset about, to writing, you know, a whole page. And then I will create my art on top of that, just to cover it up and get it out. And I mean, let these validate these feelings, but at the same time know that I'm in charge. You know, you're not going to
control
determine
me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Did you, because, you know, we are coming from different cultures, so I don't know how your school early years of school look like, but did you have those punishments in schools when you did something naughty, you had to write like 1,000 times or 1,000 lines of I will not drop the trash on the floor, whatever?
Yeah.
You know, and I couldn't understand the point of view other than practicing your handwriting when I was little. But now, you know, I'm thinking that actually it had a perfect sense. You know, not only it embeds in your head that you can do it, but also lets you, you know, release that, you know, that frustration that maybe forced you to do it. And I find that I use very naughty words sometimes over and over in my journal, or some statements that I can't really, well, post to somebody's face because I could be prosecuted or fired or things like that. But my journal takes everything, you know, paper accepts everything. So I may write the phrase over and over and over again. And I find it so relaxing, and finding that it decreases the emotions power, because after 50 time you wrote it, actually, you know, you feel calm, you know, by then.
Yeah.
So that's another technique, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So another quote from one of my favorite authors about art therapy: pictures carry medicines, energies, creative spirits, and vitality that they will give to you freely. And it's, you know, do you find yourself gaining some kind of comfort or pleasure from just looking at pictures, not even your own art, but going to galleries, you know, and
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think that art always evokes such strong emotions in one way or another. And absolutely, either going to a gallery or even something just as simple as looking at artists on Instagram or Pinterest. I think it's yeah, I actually have created a couple of different, what are they called, folders on Pinterest, or whatever they're called, boards. They're called boards, with different emotions. So if I feel that if I need something calming, I'll have a certain board that I'll look at, art that automatically makes me feel calm. And it's the same thing with music for me as well. Music just can completely transform a mood 100%. And I find it really useful to combine the two. So I will often play music whenever I'm creating, just to get me in the right state of mind, and alter where I'm at.
Yeah, colors, images have such a big impact. And you know what I can't understand? And you know, many times, and I always challenge any, for example, dentists, right? Dentists are my fear and anxiety trigger. I just hate going there. However, I'm thinking, this is the place associated with so much pain, anxiety, and stress, right? And when they do whatever in your mouth, they ask you to look at those boring ceilings. Why art is not used in you know, dentist surgeries to elevate stress and pain and let you focus on something, you know, because it's so, you know. So yeah, you know, those medicines can be offered freely. So let's hope that there is a dentist listening and maybe consider commissioning us to paint the ceiling.
Or even for me, what about the gynecologist?
Oh.
I think that would be a great place to have something nice to look at.
Yeah, to take your mind away, because you know, this what I don't understand, lack of logic there. We are decorating hospitals for children, right? When children are in hospitals, they have those rooms with, you know, cute bears and whatsoever, because we know that it helps children to feel better, to you know, attract the attention to something. But really, you know, although we are adults, we need the same pampering. I don't understand why we are you know, some kind of deprived of something that it's so simple, you know. Yeah, the halls in hospitals, corridors, they often have something, but in the actual hospital rooms, rarely there is anything that you could fixate your eyes on. Yeah,
exactly.
which is sad.
Exactly. Yeah.
And healing through art is ultimately about living in tune with the creative spirit. And what are your thoughts on that?
I wasn't looking. I was letting people in,
Sorry.
in through the waiting room when you were. Yes, absolutely. I had to look at the slide again. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say here. Let's see. Healing through art is ultimately about living in tune with the creative spirit. Yeah, I think for any form of creativity that you find, whether it's drawing or painting or dancing or singing or writing books or poetry or whatever it is that you do, that is creative. It definitely assists in the healing. It's definitely something that if you are in tune to or in tune with, then it is going to make things better. Absolutely.
And I think that it's associated with certain urges, right? If you perceive yourself as a creative, and it's a kind of vicious circle for me at least, that have an urge to express something. And if you don't do it, if you dare to do what I did for several years, I was suppressing my urges to express my emotions, and then I had a big volcano eruption, right? So it can only be healing when you act on it. When you're in tune and get those creative urges out, because each of us is creative one way or the other. But when you don't express yourself and bottle it up, it piles up, piles up, piles up, and at some point glass will overflow. There's no other way. So living with this this tune and tuning in to this, what you want to say, what you want to take out, what you want to express, of course in a socially acceptable way, only then can lead you to healing.
Yeah. I agree.
And life tensions and difficulties provide dependable and potent energy sources for creative transformation, catalyzing change in personal and social realms. I think we touched on it a little bit. That there are many ways to take things out. There are those acceptable socially ways, but there are also those antisocial ways. And like I said, I prefer to write about punching someone on the paper than do it in real life. Or draw, like I recently made a doodle, which I sold actually, with the boxing gloves, because I really had an urge to punch someone. And drawing it helped me to suppress that very antisocial reaction and turn it into a piece of art that was acceptable and understood and very well received. However, it allowed people also to somehow identify with it, because we all feel certain emotions, and this that we can't take them out and act on it sometimes is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I find it to be such a strong drive in the art that I'm creating. And they say that art is created by emotion, from emotion that you're feeling. So it's definitely something. We have someone else in the waiting room. Sorry. It's definitely something that drives and inspires me, regardless of whether it's something that is positive or negative or sad or any sort of energy source, any sort of emotion definitely drives me.
Yeah, and all tensions, although they are perceived as negative, they really can draw that energy in us to be creative, isn't it? It's lovely when we can be creative, when we are happy and jolly and whatsoever. But let's face it, life is very difficult, and those tensions and difficulties are present on a daily basis. And unfortunately, well, at least in my case, sometimes there is no balance. That the bad always, is in power. Maybe it's my perception, maybe it's my depression speaking, I don't know. However, making turning those tensions and difficulties into art at least help me to do something that makes change, because I am taking them out of my brain, put them on the paper. Some people like to look at them and then there is a change in a social realm as well, because I am more functioning in society, because I can then do other things and not only dwell on my sorrow. So I think that this quote really illustrates that. And the last one, Oscar Wilde: man is least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask and he will tell you the truth. And it's about acting, isn't it? That so many times we put a mask on our face, and only then, we feel accepted. We feel that we fit in. But yeah, being our real self, sometimes I feel that this is the only way for me to show my real self in my art, because so many of my states of mind seem so unacceptable and so dark, and so, I don't want people to be depressed because I am depressed. I feel that it's like almost contagious. So the only way when I can really express it without feeling guilty of putting people down and unsettled is when I do art, because you can take the art whenever way you want. You can interpret it your own way. And this is the kind of safety net as well, that that you can take it as you take it. You can interpret it, you can perceive it as you want, and it gives me a kind of channel of communication, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, art is honesty. It's just pure truth going on to whatever substrate, whatever paper, canvas, anything you're doing. It is going to be a mirror of the emotions that you're feeling at that moment, happy, sad, or otherwise. There's just truth in it. There's always truth. And like Dorota said, the interpretation is up to whoever is viewing the different piece of art. Some people are going to resonate. It's going to resonate with them automatically. Some people just aren't going to get it or understand it, and that's fine. But it's definitely a place where you can be extremely truthful, even without wanting to or intending to. It just happens.
Yeah, sometimes subconsciously, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. It's like magic, really.
Our conversation was followed by an insightful chat with professional art therapists. Due to confidentiality restrictions, we are unable to share that part of the event publicly. However, here are some summary points. Art therapy is a form of therapy which uses arts. However, during the sessions, a lot depends on the client and their willingness to create. There is no obligation to do so. However, a range of art resources are displayed to encourage engagement. Some clients may want to talk only, and that is fine too. Art therapy is used with a range of age groups, as well as in patient and outpatient facilities. The nature of the facility will dictate if a referral or self-referral is required. In the UK, the art therapy can be requested via a GP. There are also possibilities to access it via charitable organizations or privately. To practice as an art therapist in the UK, you must be registered with the Health and Care Professions Council, HCPC. In order to register, you must successfully complete an HCPC-approved postgraduate qualification in art therapy or art psychotherapy. This is usually a long-term study commitment, 2 or 3 years, during which you need to attend own therapy. Each country has associations or institutes serving as an umbrella body to art therapy practices. In the UK, you can find a lot of information via the British Association of Art Therapists, their website www.baat.org.